Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Wednesday workshop. It is Monica with IdealTraits. I am so happy to have everyone here today. What I will be going over today is about staying EEOC compliant throughout your hiring journey, right? Making sure that we're keeping you safe and just going over like what that means, right? And better ways to be knowledgeable in that aspect. So I'll go ahead and give it like just another minute, make sure that everyone's here, and then I'll go ahead and get started. But I do hope that everyone's had a great week so far. And again, thank you so much for joining any of the previous ones that you guys might have attended, for attending today's and even the future ones too. We love seeing you guys here. So really great stuff. Awesome. See a couple more people popping in, which is awesome. But perfect. Let's go ahead and get started then. So like I mentioned before, today what I'll be going over is staying EEOC compliant during your hiring journey, right? So the first question that you're probably having is, what does it mean to be EEOC compliant? Like, what does that even stand for, right? So EEOC stands for Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, right? So it's essentially this department that makes sure that we are keeping candidates safe during the interview process, right? So what does it protect against, right? What does it protect candidates from? So basically protecting them from employment discrimination. Now, this could be for a number of reasons, right? Just to list a few would be race, color, religion, how they sexually identify, including pregnancy, their sexual orientation, their national origin, if they have a disability, their age, for example, like someone over the age of 40, right? Or even their genetic information as well. So, why am I going over this? And that's because of the fact that we want to make sure that you guys have this knowledge to be sure that you are protected in the best way possible when conducting your interviews, right? So what I'll be going through today is just the different fields like within what I had just listed, right? So for example, like nationality, right? Why that's important, maybe some questions that you can ask versus how you can word it, right? So the first one, like I mentioned, will be nationality, right? So certainly you do want to be sure that a candidate can legally work for you, right? But how you ask that is what's really important here. So, an example of what you cannot ask, right, is, are you a US citizen? As well as, like, if you want to make sure that they do speak English, right? A question that you cannot ask is, what is your native tongue? However, what you can ask for the first one is, if you are a US citizen, one question that you can ask is, are you authorized to work in the United States, right? Because this is still making sure that you're covering your basis to make sure that they can be employed here, whereas you're not asking them for their nationality, right? And then with the native tongue, you cannot ask that, but what you can ask is, what languages do you read, speak, or write fluently, right? So this way you can make a good determination when either making them an offer or to see if they're bilingual as well, right? So you can't ask if, like, oh, is Spanish your first language, right? That could be offensive to them and discriminative because of that. So perfect. So the next one that I'll be going over is religion, right? It's definitely something that you want to tread lightly with because of the fact that there are so many different ones. And the United States, we don't even have a declared religion for like our country because of the fact that we have so many different religions within the different communities that we have here, right? So a question that you cannot ask is, what religion do you practice, right? What you could ask, so let's say if you have to work on Sundays, right? What you could ask is, what days are you available to work? And again, this is just a way to make sure that their schedule fits into what you'll be requiring. As well as a question that you cannot ask is, what religious holidays do you observe, right? You cannot ask that. What you can ask though is, are you available to work with our required schedule? And you can have this laid out, whatever your holidays are, whatever your days off are. You could go through this from the beginning to make sure that that is something that they can fit into their schedule. And another question is, do you belong to a club or social organization? And you can't ask this because, again, it could be alluding to something more. But what you could ask is if they are a member of a professional or even a trade group that is relative to your industry, right? So maybe they're part of like the Chamber of Commerce, let's say, right? And they might have good connections there for selling opportunities, or maybe, just putting together a great relationship, right? That, again, it's relevant to the field that you're hiring them for. So it is pertained to the interview. Awesome. So the next one is going to be age, right? Now, with this, right, we want to just be sure that we aren't just being blunt with asking, like, how old are you, right? Or when did you graduate? Because of the fact that this, again, could be offensive to them. Rather, what are your long term career goals, right? That is definitely a question that you can ask because you want to get a good idea as to how they might fit long term into your agency, as well as ask about their job experiences or how it pertains to the job opportunity, right? So rather than asking specifically when did they graduate, being able to say, hey, I see that you have this, this, and this listed as your previous work experience, right? How do you think that this could be applied towards this new career opportunity, right? Excellent. So the next one that I'll be going over is the marital and family status. And really quick, what I do also want to note is that if someone brings this up on their own, that's totally okay, right? Because again, I know that there's been times where I might have like said something myself during an interview that was probably something that shouldn't be asked. However, if they're putting themselves in a predicament where they're stating it, it's a different story, right? Maybe not elaborating on it more, following up more with that. But again, if they state that, that's just something that you shouldn't discriminate them because of the fact that they said it, but as well as not asking that too. So awesome. So again, with the marital and family status, questions that you can ask is this your maiden or married name, or are you married, right? Question that you can ask is, have you worked or earned a degree in another name? So this way, if you would like to verify anything, that way you have all of that information listed there, right? Awesome. So the next one would be, do you plan on having any children, right? This could be offensive because who knows? Who knows the predicament that they might be in, right? Whereas a good question for this would be, are you available to work overtime on occasion, right? Still, again, kind of going back to the ability to be able to see if they can work within that schedule, right? Awesome. So give me just 1 second, loading up the next page. And there we go. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Perfect. So another question that you cannot ask is, can you get a babysitter on short notice for overtime or travel? But what you can ask is, you will be required to travel or work overtime on short notice. Would this be a problem for you? Right? Again, pertaining it back to the job opportunity compared to their life experiences or, their circumstances. So, what do your parents do for a living, right? That's not a question that we want to be asking. Whereas, question that you can is, tell me how you became interested in this industry, right? In the insurance industry. That is definitely something that you can ask, again, piquing their interest in regards to what made them want to apply. So, question that you cannot ask is, if you get pregnant, will you continue to work and will you come back after maternity leave, right? Again, we don't want to be offensive. So this, to tie it back into our the overall career goals, right, is, what are your long-term career goals, right? And then the last one is, do you have kids? Definitely not something that you can ask, but what is your experience with such and such age group, right? That is definitely something that you could ask, again, trying to relate it to the job as much as possible, right? So again, we just want to make sure that you guys are putting yourself in a safe environment when conducting interviews. Perfect. So the next one that you cannot ask is based on gender, right? And it's important because of the fact that you also don't want to make any assumptions about the person's gender and their abilities based on appearance. So here are a few tips and questions to stay away from, right? So for example, the first one to not ask is, we've always had a man or woman do this job. How do you think you will stack up? Right? A question that you can ask though is, what do you have to offer our company? Right? Not necessarily saying that you have to be a specific gender in order to fit within that parameter, but what do you think that you personally have to offer? Right? How do you feel about supervising men/women? That's not something that we want to ask, but what you could word it as is, tell me about your previous experience with managing teams, right? An overall group collective to keep it inclusive. A question that you also cannot ask is, what do you think about interoffice dating? Rather, we would suggest something along the lines of, have you ever been disciplined for your behavior at work, right? Again, just different ideas and ways to keep yourself safe during the interview process. Awesome. So next up, we have some miscellaneous, or sorry, health and physical abilities, right? So your employees' health and abilities, so they definitely are going to be essential, right, during your job, right, to get that job done. But it is important to avoid certain assumptions and discrimination. So these are some of the questions that I would personally recommend for that aspect, right? So the first one is to not asking is, do you smoke, drink, or take drugs, right? We want to avoid that by rather wording it as, in the past, have you ever been disciplined for violating company policies, forbidding the use of alcohol, tobacco, or drug use? Again, it's pertaining to their previous work environment, that at which you could call to verify when going through their different resources, as well as their um, sorry, as well as their resume, right? So another question that you cannot ask is, how tall are you, right? Rather, are you able to reach items on a shelf that's at least 5 feet tall? Perfect. So the next one is, how much do you weigh? Don't want to be asking those. Rather, are you able to lift a box that weighs up to 50 pounds, right? Putting it within those parameters. Another question to not ask is, how many sick days did you take last year? Rather, a way to word that could be, how many days of work did you miss last year? Right? Not necessarily pertaining it to specifically being sick, because we never know why they might have taken a day off. Was it a vacation? Was it, you know, PTO, right? Were they required to take X amount of time? Who knows? How Next question to not ask is, do you have any disabilities? A great way to word this would be, are you able to perform the specific duties of this position, right? And if not, that's when you could further that conversation and being able to dive into that. Excellent. And then the last one is, have you had any recent or past illnesses or operations? We definitely want to avoid that, and instead saying, are you able to perform again the essential functions of this job with or without reasonable accommodations? So again, making sure that we're keeping you safe during that interview process. And then a last couple of miscellaneous ones, right, that we definitely want to avoid is, you know, by kind of sidestepping these questions about the residents and legal troubles and military service. So, just a few ones that we've heard of in the past, right, is, how far is your commute, right? We don't want to ask that. Rather, are you able to start work at 8 a.m.? They might be moving, who knows, right? And that leads me into my next question is, do you live nearby? We want to avoid that question. Rather, are you willing to relocate? Excellent. Another question to not ask is, have you ever been arrested? Right? What you could ask is, have you ever been convicted of financial fraud, theft, etc.? Right? Very specific, and especially with the financial aspect as well. So, another question to not ask is, were you honorably discharged from the military? If they do have that, right, you could say, tell me how your experience in the military can benefit the company. Awesome. And then the last one I have is, are you a member of the National Guard or Reserves? A question that you could ask, however, is, do you have any upcoming events that would require extensive time away from work? And what's really cool is, I also want to just show you guys this information as well. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Share screen. So I was actually able to pull all of this from our EEOC Compliant article that we have, right? So now, if you also have like specific interview questions that you are looking for when conducting those, right, what you could do is, if you were to go to idealtraits.com, let's just say help@idealtraits.com, we'll start off fresh. Right, so then you'll be directed here. And let's say if you want interview questions, right? More specifically, EEOC, right? So one option is that you could type in EEOC, and then you're going to get all of the articles relating to that as well. And then once we do eventually get this webinar published, that would populate too. So you could review this for later on, as well as it being sent to you. So let's say if you just want general questions, right? You could go here. And then here's 50 questions right off the bat as to things that you could ask, as well as sample interview based on their personality, right? So let's say if you have a specific personality that you would like to get more information on, or like just to better, conduct with that interview, you could easily go here to get this information as well. And then again, all of the other related articles like sales, a lot of great resources here. So excellent. But that is really all that I had for today, you guys. Was there any questions about staying EEOC compliant or anything else that you guys wanted to go through? If so, I would love to answer that right now and kind of dive a little bit deeper in helping you guys understand. Great question, Blake. So the question is that if we have one-on-one interview question building, we currently have questions we normally use, but are wanting a professional opinion and something more tailored to our industry. So what I would suggest doing is I'll actually go ahead and I'll put my calendar link up, but this is definitely something that we could discuss like during our, like if you schedule a time with us, right? Or someone on my team, not only do we have the chat feature that you can utilize within your IdealTraits account, but you are also able to schedule a time with us. And this would be a great thing that we could set aside 30 minutes just to go over that, right? Going over those questions, how it pertains to you, what exactly are you looking for? I'm not sure if you, I believe you might have attended like the past sessions about going over soft skills versus hard skills and maybe incorporating that into the questions as well, right? So let me go ahead and get you that link right quick. Because yeah, that's not something that we do offer, but it's definitely something that we could discuss between myself or my client success team as well. So let me just pop this over. And so what I'll do is I will just paste our client success team calendar link. And then if you'd like to schedule directly onto my calendar, you can. And then we'll go over that, or you can schedule onto one of my coworkers. I know like mine gets a little busy sometimes just between the webinars and then the different meetings, right? About going over different content that we're going to keep posting out for you. But yes, that is a great question. And it doesn't hurt to ever have just a second opinion and make sure that everything looks great. So awesome. Any other questions about EEOC? Do you have access to recommendations to some sort of test to evaluate the potential employee computer skills and or grammar skills? So I don't have any recommendations for that. I believe that, let's say LinkedIn. Yeah, I believe LinkedIn currently has the ability to be able to test those, like to add like certifications to them. So that's definitely something that you could look into. Or I'm sure if like you were to Google basic computer skills tests, right? That could definitely be something, as well as grammar skills. What I will say is that if they don't have those computer skills, right, is it something that you think that they might easily be able to adapt to, right? Is that really going to, like, so let's say they have their license, they have everything, right? But they only type a couple words, like they're just a slow typer, right? Is that something that you might be willing to offer resources with for helping them, right? Great question. So, what is the fee for a one-on-one meeting? No fee. If you're a part of IdealTraits, you can schedule a time with us, and we'll just go over your account. I mean, I had a couple of meetings earlier today where we just went over job ads, or we went over onboarding, right? Just a couple of different things just to get them refreshed with their account, or just to go over things in app. That's what we're here for. So again, you can utilize that chat feature to get your questions answered, but I know some people just prefer a phone call. So that is something that we do offer right now for being able to help you. So I'm new to IdealTraits. Yep. So that's definitely something that, again, if you'd like to chat into us, Andrea, we could totally go over that with you, or that link above. if you select that, right, it's going to direct you to our overall team. So you can schedule a call like with Trevor. He's my coworker, Lisa, Tracy, myself, Monica. I'm on there too. Or you can do first available, just depending as to your need. That's why I mentioned, I know my calendar kind of fills up a little. Like I think, yeah, today is already booked up afterwards. But I do have some availability tomorrow, Thursday, even next week too. So if that is something that you'd like to go over, or really any in-app questions that you have, right, that is a great resource to utilize in like for going over them. But great question. Any other questions about anything with the interviews or, conducting those, the resources that we have available? Do you guys need me to show you the Help Center again? Awesome. Yeah, I'll totally go over the Help Center. So let me actually load into my demo account right quick. Awesome. Let me share my screen with you guys as well. Okay, awesome. So here is my IdealTraits account, right? So you mentioned about, let's say just going over that Help Center, right? So what we'll do is there's actually a couple ways to do it. The first one is if you hover over the Help tab, right? You can actually select that drop down, and from there you can select Help Center. Now this will automatically direct you here. You can go through the different ones, right? So let's say if you want to see any of our previous Wednesday workshops, right? You can do that here. You can view our blog post, understanding personalities, hiring tips, and recruiting. So you can scroll through to find what you're looking for, or what I had mentioned before is like if you type in interview questions. Oh, can't spell. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Whoop. Okay, there we go. Awesome. So as you can see here, this will pull up all of the related articles that we have pertaining to interview questions. So we have general interview questions, we have sales, right? Sample interview questions based on their personality, right? Their profiles at a glance, going over that. And then that the EEOC one that I went through with you guys today, and this actually kind of gives you like that colorized ideas to like, the do's and don'ts for asking. So that is one way to access the Help Center. And again, there's so much more resources there too about going over the personalities, going over any of your in-app questions that you may have, right? The second way to get to the Help Center though is if you select the Visit Help Center from here on the dashboard, it'll direct you there. And then the last way is using the chat bubble. So that's where you'd normally be able to send us a message, right? Or you can search here. So let's say if I typed in EEOC, you'll get all of the relating articles. And then it will pull it up in chat. So if you would like, you could either just scroll to the bottom and then select Open in Help Center, or you can just read it in there and then close out of it once you're done. That is how you utilize that. So just go ahead and close out of this. Okay, awesome. So the next question I had is how often would you suggest taking assessments with existing employees? I personally take it about once every think of it about once every month right now. Now, for like going over their progress, right? It could be like once a quarter, even like every 6 months, or once a year, right? Just depending as to how they like it. I personally love our assessment, so I personally enjoy taking it. And I just like seeing where I'm at after every month, but that might not be for everyone, right? So that is definitely something that you could do, let's say once every quarter, every 6 months. But great question. These are amazing questions, you guys. Is there anything else that anyone would like to go over today? We still got a couple more minutes. And great to hear, Jennifer. Yes, please do use these for like your one-on-one meetings or just going over like overall where they're at now, areas that they can improve on is major too, right? And the great thing too is that help center. Let's say if you get a specific personality, like a persistent, right? If you type in persistent up top, it'll actually pull up that personality result for you. It we'll go over like some interview questions too, but let's say where their areas of strength are, their weaknesses, or sorry, I personally like to word it as areas of opportunity, just because of the fact that we all have things that we can work on, right? And areas that we excel in. So being able to go over that, as well as what are some of their fears, right? What are things that they like to be joyous over? Just a lot of different great information about specific personalities there for you too. Awesome. Good stuff. Not a problem. Is there anything else that anyone would like to go over today? And let me also get you guys the link for next week's onboard, because that one we're going to be going over in-app tools. So we definitely want to get you that link. So give me 1 second to pull this one up. Wrong one. Wrong one. Okay. Oh, this is this week's. Okay, January 18th is going to be our next one. Awesome. So there is that link to sign up for that one. You should also have a drop-down menu to sign up for any of the future ones as well. And what's really cool is that even if you can't attend it, no worries, a recording will be sent over to you once it's completed. So a really great way just to get more information, improving that hiring journey that you guys are on. And as you can see, multiple people are in the same boat too. So it's not like you're alone out here, but we are wanting to put out as much material as we can, help guide you through the way. So awesome. Well, that is all I have for today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate all the questions that were chatted in today, as well as, sticking by with me to go over these EEOC compliant questions that you guys may have. Have an amazing day. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you guys in the future weeks. And thanks for sticking around, and happy hiring.